In the news this week, doctors back a radical campaign to weaken abortion laws, schools regulator Ofsted vows to ramp up its British values drive, and a Christian pharmacist speaks of her relief as plans to curb conscience rights are dropped. Hello. Doctors have voted to campaign for the decriminalisation of abortion for any reason up to 28 weeks into pregnancy. Around 2/3 of delegates at the British Medical Association conference voted in favour of the change. In Great Britain, abortions generally can take place up to 24 weeks. In the days leading up to the vote, around 1,500 doctors and medical students warned that weakening its stance on abortion would severely damage the BMA's reputation. Dr. Peter Saunders, CEO of Christian Medical Fellowship, spoke to the Christian Institute about the move.
This is a very sad day for the medical profession, which has betrayed its own ethics. The Hippocratic Oath forbids abortion, and just 70 years ago, the BMA called abortion the greatest crime, but now sadly doctors have become its biggest promoters and facilitators.
Yesterday, the government announced it would start funding abortions for women travelling to England from Northern Ireland. Currently in Northern Ireland, abortion remains illegal except to preserve the life of the mother. In total, there have been nearly 9 million abortions in Great Britain since the 1967 Abortion Act was passed. The new head of schools regulator, Ofsted, has vowed to continue the government's controversial British values drive. Amanda Spielman, who took up the post in January, says recent terror attacks mean a greater crackdown on different forms of extremism is needed. The Christian Institute's education officer, John Denning, said Spielman's assertions would be particularly concerning for faith schools.
What she's done is to encourage inspectors to fail schools based on their own subjective interpretation of what constitutes British values. And she's opened the door to rogue inspectors pursuing their own personal anti-faith agenda in their inspection, or to others simply making unbalanced judgments based on personal prejudice, because perhaps the inspector just knows nothing about religion.
This week, Ofsted was slammed for repeatedly failing an Orthodox Jewish school because it refuses to endorse homosexuality and transsexualism. The school's regulator claims that the school, for girls aged 3 to 8, is failing to promote British values. Jill Robbins, of the campaign group Christians in Education, said the news shows LGBT rights are held above the rights of others. It doesn't matter how good your school is in all other respects. Simply refusing to teach very young children about gender reassignment will lead to your closure. That is the possible outcome for not only this school, but other Jewish schools which refuse, as a matter of faith, to teach about LGBT issues. The Christian Institute can reveal that a card which makes light of adultery has been pulled from Tesco's shelves after complaints from shoppers. The birthday card has the words "Time for a sports car and an affair" on its front cover. Tesco confirmed that it is no longer being sold in stores, with a spokesman telling the Institute, "We've listened to customer feedback and will have removed this card from our range." The card drew criticism from Twitter users, including Leslie Smith, who said, "Disappointed to see messages like this on cards. Words are powerful." After finding out that the offensive card had been pulled, she told the Christian Institute, "I'm so pleased that Tesco have agreed to not sell the card. When I saw this card with its message encouraging an act that causes such pain and destruction in families under the guise of humour, I just thought, no, not funny." And finally, a Christian pharmacist has expressed her relief after plans to undermine the conscience rights of pharmacy workers were dropped by the General Pharmaceutical Council. Draft guidance by the Council could have forced Christians to provide access to abortion drugs by apparently removing the right of referral to another pharmacist. But last week, we were able to report that after pressure from hundreds of Christian professionals and a threat of legal action by the Institute, the most dangerous aspects of the change have been abandoned. Earlier this week, Christian pharmacist Beverly Trigolidis told the Institute why the change would have been so damaging and expressed relief that clear conscience rights will remain.
As a pharmacist, you are sometimes in a situation where you need to dispense a drug which can bring a pregnancy to an end, and many pharmacists are very uncomfortable in this situation. not just Christian pharmacists, I need to add. With the guidance as it was, you could refer to a pharmacist who worked with you, another colleague, or you could just refer in the community to another pharmacy who would accommodate the patient. And this always worked very well. With the guidance that was coming in, which was proposed, it was very, very unclear as to where we would stand. And the worry was that as a Christian pharmacist, I would be penalised for exercising conscience. It is a relief to know that if I want to go back, then the door is open to do that, and I can be accommodated. Obviously, there has been a slight change in the legislation, so we do have to familiarise ourselves with that and work with it. But yeah, generally it is a relief.
Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.